We go through Georgia, South Carolina, and then North Carolina. It was very cold.
That's like
Yeah. Yeah, but Florida counts as like a whole other state because it's like 4 hours before you get out of Florida.
Yeah, I know. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
It was a long state.
Yeah, it was. So we were Saturday night, and my son's like, "Oh, we thought we'd go to the sunrise service." I'm like, it rained the entire weekend. I got there Thursday night; it was beautiful, and then Friday, Saturday, it poured the whole time. It was 40 degrees, pouring, and I was just like, it's like 40 degrees and it's raining. I don't want to do that.
Red Rock. They do like the service.
Easter sunrise service? Yeah. Well, we ended up doing a sunrise service, but they moved it inside because it was too cold.
Yeah, I understand.
But yeah.
That's nice that you got to see him.
So my son actually he's been attending a Lutheran church. Have any of you ever gone to a Lutheran church?
No, I haven't gone to a Lutheran. I heard of it.
It was I don't attend a Lutheran church, but their Good Friday service was so interesting. So, we know Good Friday is, I don't need to be recording this one. No. Good Friday. Okay, so let's just we'll take about 20 minutes to review some graphing. Okay. Are we getting a worksheet today? That's a good question. No worksheet today.
Oh, man.
I don't think so anyway. Wait a minute. No.
Why would you standard one?
Oh, you can turn that fan on for them, please. Thank you.
Stop
You're
this
you're just so hot, Ronnie.
Like, I don't understand how they want the class to be this hot. Like, I don't know. It's crazy.
Okay.
Thank you.
So let's look at the equation y equals x minus 4 squared plus 1. Okay. So first off, what is the vertex?
Is it like those four,
4, 1, right. The vertex is 4, 1. We always take the opposite of the number that's inside the parenthesis, comma 1. Okay. What is the axis of symmetry?
Oh, x equals.
Good.
4.
X equals the x value. Yes. 4. You will have questions like this. Just that. What's the vertex? What's the axis of symmetry? Okay. So y equals x plus 7 squared minus 3. What is the vertex? Good. What is the axis of symmetry? Good. Don't forget it has to be x equals. Very good. Okay. Questions on that? Okay. Let's graph this one. How do we graph it?
Oh, go back 7.
Yeah. Go to this point. -7, -3. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Down to -3. So we put that vertex point there. Is this going to open up or down? How do we know it's opening up? Because this is a positive in front of there. If it was a negative sign in front of there, then it would open down. Okay? So it's going to open up. So there's my parabola, and we can't get very precise with it because we don't know enough yet. Okay? All right, so those are the easy ones. Now let's look at okay, let's look at y equals 2x squared minus 8x plus 5. Okay, so what is the axis of symmetry? Okay.
Wouldn't it be like -2?
Negative b over
Over 2.
2.
2a. All right.
So it's 8 on the top, negative.
Positive 8 on top because this is a negative. So it would be negative -8,
Yeah.
which is positive 8,
Yep.
over
Bottom,
2 times 2.
2. Yeah, 4. So it's like 2.
We get 8 over 4, which is 2. So what's the axis of symmetry?
2.
X equals 2. Don't leave it like this. It has to be x equals. Okay? It has to be x equals. So there's my axis of symmetry.
Put it in.
Okay, let's do the vertex.
I'll put the 2 in.
Put the 2 in. Good. Okay, so we've got y equals 2 times 2 squared minus 8 times 2 plus 5. So y equals 2 times 4 minus 16 plus 5. That gives me 8 minus 16 plus 5, which is negative 8 plus 5. So y equals negative 3. So what's my vertex?
2.
Good. 2, negative 3. Excellent. Okay. What's my y-intercept?
5.
How do we know that?
Because it's the C.
It's the c value, yes. Okay. Is this opening up or down?
You could give us the quiz right now. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I probably could have, but I don't have it prepared now anyway. So
You're running.
At least we do the quiz right now.
okay, so let's see. We want to graph it. So first thing we're going to do when we're graphing it,
Just put it at the point.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here's the y-intercept, and then we're going to go to 2, and we're going to draw our dotted line for the axis of symmetry. And then we're going to plot our vertex, 2, negative 3. And now what?
Mirror it.
Yes, mirror it. Yes. So we're going to fold it on that imaginary dotted line. And there's the other point because I need 3 points. So there is my parabola. Okay? Okay, I'm going to have you do one yourself. I'm going to set it up just like you'll see it on the quiz. Okay, y equals x squared plus 4x plus 6. Okay, so number 1. Okay, it's just like the quiz is going to be. Okay,
Wait, why did we do the vertex first?
say that again.
Wait, no.
I found the answer.
Okay. So what is the y-intercept? Let me see. Ava, what's the y-intercept? 6. Yeah. Excellent. Y-intercept is 6. Tori, what do I do to find the axis of symmetry? Good. So x equals -4 over 2 times 1, which gives me -4 over 2, which is -2. So my axis of symmetry should be x equals -2. I will take points off if you forget to do x equals. Okay. Okay. Shayna, what now for the vertex?
You would put in -2, and then
Put it into the equation? Right. Okay. Now, be very careful, okay, because I know you'll probably use your calculators, which is fine, okay, but just a reminder, all right, if I look at my calculator here, okay, and I do -2 squared, it gives me -4. And I know that's not true because -2 times -2 is +4. I have to put that negative number in parentheses. Then it gives me the +4. And the reason is that if I just put it in like this, -2 squared, it's doing -1 times 2 squared. That's what it's doing. It's squaring the 2. It's not squaring -2. Okay, so be careful with your calculator. Okay, so this is going to give me y equals +4 plus -8 plus 6, which is -4 plus 6, which gives me 2. So my vertex is -2, 2. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and graph it. So we've got a y-intercept of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we've got an axis of symmetry of -2. And draw my dotted line there. Okay. And let's see, my vertex is -2, 2. And then we have to fold it on that line to get its mirror image. So there's my third point. And here is my parabola. Okay. Okay. I'm going to give you like a 2-minute brain break. And then we're going to start something new. Get that out of the way. Why isn't it going?
This one.
Minus the square root. B squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, everybody doing it. Negative minus the square. B squared minus 4ac all over 2a. We're going to keep doing it until you all sing. Hear ya. All over 2a. Do it. Come on. Oh, we're not finished. We're doing it again. We're doing it again.
Oh my God, let's go.
Here we go. We got it this time, right? Oh, wait, that's not it. No, it's not.
Oh, man.
There you go. Keep going. You're going to know this. Close it part. Key change. Okay, this time we're going to do boys and then girls. Ooh. Yeah, let's do it. We're going to start off with everybody, and then we're going to go boys, and then we're going to go girls. Are you ready? Everybody? Whoever wins, whoever does it best gets an extra point. Boys, here we go. Okay, girls, let's do it better so you get an extra point on your quiz. I don't know. Boy, that was pretty close. I don't know. Okay, everybody, key change. Woo! One more time. You want to compete again?
Now you gotta give it to boys.
All right, we got to compete again. Here we go. One more time. Here we go.
You gotta give it to
Everybody, everyone to start with. Girls will go first after this. Okay, girls, I want to hear you. Nice and loud, girls. Okay, boys, you're next. Let me hear it. Nice and loud, boys. Yeah. All right. Here we go. Key change. All right, boys, you did get it. You got it. No, I didn't say trash. I didn't let you down. Okay, so let's solve this equation. Solve for x, right? So, what's a equal to?
A is equal to
1, yes. What's b equal to?
5.
What's c equal to?
6.
Okay, so
1, 5, 6.
x equals negative b, so it's negative 5 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's 5 squared, minus 4 times 1 times 6 all over 2 times 1. I'll explain that at the end. Okay, so we're going to simplify it. X equals negative 5 plus or minus the square root of, right, 25 minus 24 all over 2. Okay. So x equals negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 1 over 2. 25 minus 24 is 1. What's the square root of 1?
0. There's none.
1. Square root of 1 is 1. x equals negative 5 plus or minus 1 over 2. Okay. So that means we have two solutions. X equals negative 5 plus 1 over 2. And x equals negative 5 minus 1 over 2. So negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4 over 2. So x equals negative 2. And then the other one, we have negative 5 minus 1, so that's negative 6 over 2. So x equals negative 3.
So we have two.
We have two
Oh,
answers.
so it's like that one lesson that we did.
Absolute
Right,
values?
yes.
Yep. So, and it's for the same reason, right? So we get negative 2 and negative 3. How many times did it cross the x-axis? 2 times. And it crosses the x-axis at negative 2 and negative 3.
Yeah.
The solution is where it crosses the x-axis. The solution is the x-intercept. It's-
geometry.
It's also called the zero. It's called the zero because y is equal to 0 here.
Because it doesn't go off.
Because it crosses the x-axis, which means
It's
it's where y equals 0. Look, this is the point negative 2, 0. This is the point negative 3, 0. So the solution, huh?
They call it y0 too. That's when the x is 0.
When x is 0, but the function is not 0, y does not equal 0. Like the equation does not equal 0. Here, the equation equals 0. That's why we call it a 0 there. Okay? So it's important to know that these three things mean the same thing. The solution, the x-intercept, and the 0. That all means the same thing. Okay? So when we're graphing our parabola, in order to find the x-intercept or the solution, right, we solve the equation. And in this case, we're going to use the quadratic formula. There's other ways of solving the equation, which we'll learn about later. But for now, we're going to use the quadratic formula. Look at this one. How many times does that cross the x-axis?
0.
which one?
0, right. The graph right there, the white graph. Okay, it doesn't cross the x-axis. Well, let's find the x-intercept using the quadratic formula.
Doesn't it still have one?
Say that again.
Doesn't it still have one?
Well, does it have an x-intercept? Does it cross the x-axis?
No.
No, so it doesn't seem like it's going to have one. So let's look at it. Right, I'm going to write it down. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so x equals, what does b equal here?
4.
So it's negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 6 all over 2 times 1. You should all be copying this down. I see some of you copying it down. That's wonderful. Okay, yes.
So like if there was like a number where the square root was the next to it.
Wait, say it again. If there was a number that what?
Okay, so like, cause you know that problem we did like the last time it was like it had 2x like y equals something.
Yeah.
It was like a number in front.
Yes.
So wouldn't you?
So then the A would, so like this one up here, right? So the A would be a 2. So then we would be dividing it by 2 times 2.
So what is the other one?
This one, the A is a 1. because you don't see a number in front of the x squared, so that means a is 1.
But I'm saying for the other one, you see the negative 4 is? Yeah. Or the,
Right here?
yeah, the negative.
So the quadratic formula is negative b. So b is 4. So it's negative 4.
Yes, but like, what about the one? Like, go over
This one right here, it's 4ac. So it's 4 times a, and a is 1, times c, and c is 6.
So I'm saying, like, what if there was like,
If that was a 2,
yeah.
then it would be 4 times 2 times 6. Okay? Okay, so let's finish working through this, right? X equals negative 4 plus or minus. Notice I always simplify what's inside the square root first, right? That's my first job. 16 minus 24 over 2. So x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of negative 8 over 2. Okay, I have a problem. What's the problem? Can't take the square root of a negative number. Right. This is not possible. You cannot take the square root of a negative number. As soon as I see that that is a negative number inside the square root, I know there are no solutions. There are no x-intercepts. No x-intercept. I know that because I got the square root of a negative 8, and that is not possible. And that matches my graph. I still have a graph. I still have a parabola, but it does not cross the x-axis.
So you're done with that?
So I'm done with that. Okay. Another example of a parabola that does not cross the x-axis would be something like this. Right? Never crosses the x-axis. Okay.
So
Yep. Okay, let's do this one up here, right? We graphed it already.
yeah, what would happen if I did like a negative? Like, you remember how when it's like an upside down?
Mm-hmm. So the a is negative.
But would that change anything? Like, would it still be, like, could you still solve it?
Yes, you can still solve it. Yep. Okay, let's look at this one. Again, we already graphed it. So when I solve this one, am I going to get, how many solutions am I going to get? 2, right. Okay, I'm going to two solutions. Okay, so let's solve this one. Again, x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Right, so we're using this equation here. This is the one that we already worked with. We already graphed it. Let's check and see what those actual x-intercepts are. So x equals negative b. So that's negative 8.
So is that a positive?
It's going to become a positive, yep. Plus or minus the square root of negative 8 squared minus 4 times a, and in this case, a is 2 times c, which is 5, all over 2 times 2. So we get x equals positive 8 plus or minus the square root of 64 minus 4 times 2 times 5. So that's going to be 40 over 4. Okay. Make some space here. Okay. So we get 8 plus or minus the square root of 24 over 4. Okay. So x equals 8 plus the square root of 24 over 4, and x equals 8 minus the square root of 24 over 4. Okay. Can we simplify the square root of 24?
Why did it become a minus?
It's a plus or minus right here. So we have to set it up as two equations.
Oh.
Okay. So square root of 24 is 4 times 6, right? And I can take the square root of 4. So it's 8 plus 2 root 6 over 4. And how's that going to simplify? 2 goes into 8 4 times. 2 goes into 2 1 time, so that's just 1 square root of 6. 2 goes into 4 2 times. I reduced everything by 2. Okay, down here we're going to get 8 minus 2 root 6 over 4, which gives us 4 minus root 6 over 2. So now I need to convert that to a decimal because I still don't know where that is on the graph, right? So we've got to convert that to a decimal. So we're going to go to our calculator and we're going to put this in our calculator. 4 plus root 6 over 2. Okay, so 4 plus the square root of 6. Right, and then I'm going to divide that by 2. We're going to just say 3.2. Right, this is approximately 3.2. And then we're going to do 4 minus the square root of 6. And we'll divide that by 2. And we get 0.775. So we're going to say 0.78. Okay. Okay. Let's just talk about what we just did, okay? I'll be right with you, Brooke. We use a quadratic formula. Now, when we got down to this part right here, we broke it up into two equations. One of them plus and one minus. Okay? Now, since we're using our calculator, you can actually just put this in your calculator like this.
I did it like when I did it, I added the 4 into one.
So if you do that, you have to be careful, right? I have to put the 4 plus the square root of 6 in parentheses first, and then divide it by 2.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's just going to divide the square root of 6 by 2. Okay? Okay? So we came up with two solutions. This is where it's crossing the x-axis. Look at our graph. It's actually crossing the x-axis at 3.2 and at 0.78. That's going to give us a much more accurate graph. Okay, there's my graph. Brooke, what was your question?
So, can you go over the steps that you did to get into, I see, 8 plus 2.
Right here?
Yeah.
Okay, so since the 8, the 2, and the 4 are all divisible by 2, I can reduce them all. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, and then 2 divided by 2 is 1. There's actually a 1 there. And then 4 divided by 2 is 2. Okay? Okay, want to try one by yourself? Oh, by the way, what would the graph look like if there was only one solution? Let's actually do one of those. Let me see. Y equals, let me think of one. X squared plus 6x plus 9. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's see if we can graph this and find our x-intercepts. Let's do the whole big thing, right? So let's graph it. What's the y-intercept? 9. Okay. Actually, let me move this down a little bit. Okay, so 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Please copy this in your notes, right? I'm giving you examples of stuff that you need. Y equals 9, that's my y-intercept. Okay. I'm going to find my axis of symmetry. Okay. X equals negative b over 2a. So we get negative 6 over 2, which is negative 3. X equals negative 3 is my axis of symmetry. Okay. All right. And then we're going to find our vertex. So we get y equals negative 3 squared plus 6 times negative 3 plus 9. So we're looking for our vertex. So y equals 9 plus negative 18 plus 9. That equals 0. So my vertex is negative 3, 0. Right there. Okay, we get the mirror image, right? We fold it over on the dotted line. So here's my matching point right here. And there's my parabola. Okay. Okay. How many times is that crossing the x-axis? Once. Only once, right? So let's look at what happens when we use the quadratic formula. Okay. Let's write it out. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, there's my quadratic formula. Do, 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 right? Okay, so x is equal to negative b. What was b? 6, so it's negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 9 all over 2 times 1. Brooke, you have a question?
Yeah, when we do like a quiz or something on this, will it just be like an extra step, or will it just probably just?
When we do a quiz on it, it'll just be on the quadratic formula. Later at the end, when we do a test, it's going to be everything.
So it's gonna be like just one step.
Yeah. Okay, so this is going to be negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 36 minus 36 over 2, which gives us negative 6 plus or minus 0 over 2. So what do you notice about that? It's plus or minus 0, so we actually only have one answer. Okay? And that one answer, whoops, that's a 3, not a 2. That one answer is where it crosses the x-axis. So I've showed you 3 examples. The first one that we looked at, we had 2 solutions. Okay? Cross the x-axis in 2 places, -3 and -2. And when we did that, notice the number inside the square root, right? I could actually take that square root. Okay? I gave you another example where we have 2 solutions. And that was right here where it was 24 inside the square root. We had 2 solutions. I showed you an example where there were no solutions and the number inside the square root was negative. And now I just showed you an example where there's only 1 solution. And what's the number inside the square root? It's a 0. The number inside the square root is actually 0. When that happens, there's only 1 solution. So there's 3 possibilities. We could have 2 solutions, we could have 1 solution, or we could have 0 solutions, right? When it's 2 solutions, the number inside the square root, right? The number, pay attention everybody, right? The number inside the square root, which is b squared minus 4ac. That's the number that's inside the square root. Does everyone see that?
Yeah.
Well, when there's 2 solutions, that number is greater than 0. The 2 examples I showed you, it was 1 on one of the examples. The other example, it was 24. When we have 1 solution, the b squared minus 4ac, what did that equal? 0. When there's 1 solution, that equals 0. When there were no solutions, the number inside the square root was less than 0. It was negative. Okay? This is how we can tell right away how many solutions there are. This is called the determinant. Okay? Questions? Okay. Tomorrow, I'm not going to give you homework tonight. Tomorrow we're going to do our quiz, and then we're going to do a worksheet on this. Okay? It's on just the quadratic formula, so just finding the solutions. You're not going to graph it. You're just going to find the solutions. Not on the worksheet. Right? Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, you have to make a pass.